John, thank you very much for joining us on Trade Finance Talks TV. So if you could give us a quick introduction, who are you, where are you from, and what do you do?
I'm John Lucy, I work for the Freight Transport Association. I'm the Manager of International Transport and Trade Procedures in the UK.
Great. So what is the Freight Transport Association? Who are your members?
Well, the Freight Transport Association is, I think at the moment, it's the fourth largest business association in the UK. We represent the interests of the logistics industry. So we tend to sit in between the logistics providers and the buyers of logistics services within the UK and government departments. So we have a lot of interaction with the civil service, with the DIT, with HMRC and DFT, etc. in terms of mitigating. At the moment, a lot of time is spent in mitigating Brexit-related issues for the industry, I would say.
Great. So what are the top concerns for hauliers, vehicle operators and freight forwarders to, I guess, keep Britain trading after it exits the EU?
Right. So right now, the big problem is there's almost too much information coming out and it's too late, really. In terms of preparation for the 31st of October, it's not much more advanced than what it was for the 31st of March earlier in the year, really, for the last Brexit date. The actual capacity within the industry to do custom declarations overnight is just not there at the moment. It needs a long time to prepare. The training for the hauliers and also for the traders, the customers of the hauliers or the exporters, there seems to be a huge sort of apathy within the industry as a whole. I think almost % that Brexit's not going to happen. But obviously, could be something in a few days away now, really. And we spend a lot of time working with exporters and with the logistics providers in terms of raising awareness in terms of what paperwork is going to be required to cross borders. But the big problem really is just the complete lack of infrastructure around the border areas, certainly around the port areas, and it seems to be getting more complicated, and at certain ports will require slightly different variations of the procedures. And so obviously, we also need to get this the knowledge out to the EU 27 countries as well, because the vast majority of the vehicles coming to the UK are from the outside the UK.
So what exactly is the FTA advising its members around Brexit?
We're showing our members what the paperwork looks like, how it can be processed, what they need to be asking their customers for in terms of documentation, how it will actually be processed at the borders themselves, in terms of both from importing and exporting from the UK into the EU and obviously in return, illustrating the different types of customs documents that may be required depending on the type of cargo, and also as well as the customs documentation in terms of agri-products. Once you're leaving the EU, for UK agri-products and Irish agri-products have to go into a border inspection post in the various Ro-Ro ports around the EU. Which again, this is a new requirement for the industry in 35 years now. So it's the education, it's huge. There's so much information that the haulage community and the logistics providers need to understand, but also for the customers themselves, the traders and the shippers.
Yeah, great. So let's talk about EORI numbers, and some of our listeners may not have heard about what EORI numbers are. What are they, and what do businesses need to do to continue trading with the EU post-Brexit?
Okay, well, an EORI is Economic Operator Registration and Identification Number. This is basically the first ID number that any business that wishes to trade internationally requires. It's provided by HMRC, and right now I think every VAT registered business should have been provided with their own EORI number on behalf of HMRC. This number identifies the company on their import and export declarations. If they're trading with multiple countries around Europe, they need an EORI number registered in all of those different countries as well. So there's been quite a lag in uptake on the EORI numbers from the UK traders, but I think that's why the HMRC released, it was 88,000 automatically about 3 weeks ago now to all VAT registered companies. So it's the first step of many in actually being able to trade internationally after the Brexit date.
Great. And so EORI numbers, are they for goods and services?
They are for goods only, as far as I know.
And at the same time, Incoterms are changing, Incoterms 2020. What's the relevance for new EU traders post-Brexit?
Well, the vast majority of EU-only traders haven't even heard of the word Incoterms. So we're finding now as the requirements for post-Brexit trading is materialising, we're seeing that the risk factor for UK traders who are unaware of the correct Incoterms or possibly the misuse of the Incoterms is quite high, really, because the vast majority of the traders that we talk to, unless they're already working with or trading with countries outside of Europe, and they're aware of the concept and the terminology in terms of this contractual responsibility and where the liabilities lie between the buyer and the seller, which obviously depends on which Incoterms that you're actually using contractually. The knowledge just isn't there really. So say there's 145,000 traders estimated by HMRC who are new to be trading with Europe and new to all these new procedures. That's a huge amount of companies that need to understand and be trained and be aware of the risks to their business by having the incorrect Incoterms of contract, or misunderstanding the Incoterms being quoted by the sellers or their buyers, whichever.
And how can businesses engage with the FTA to, I guess, be more prepared for some of these big changes that are coming up in the next few months?
We're running a huge amount of workshops, events. We're working with the DFT. We're rolling out hauling workshops nationwide. We're doing 20 a week. That's ramping up to 40 a week right across the UK, Scotland and Ireland, in terms of raising awareness and training amongst the haulage community themselves, the logistics providers. And we're also starting working with the traders, the buyers, the logistics services, in order for those shipping companies to understand what they need to be providing to the logistics providers in order to help the flow of their goods across borders, because obviously the information originally needs to come from the shippers themselves or the exporters themselves. There seems to be a little bit of a misunderstanding at the moment where they assume that the transport companies will be able to do these declarations, but they can't. The actual information is so detailed, it needs to come from the exporters themselves, pass it on to logistics companies, and everybody needs to exchange this data between themselves in order to keep trade flowing with as least friction as possible across the borders.
Great. John, thank you very much for joining us on Trade Finance Talks TV.
Thank you very much.